That's really interesting. I want to imagine what a race is like for you then. So can you take me through it? Because I want to know, like, when these internal voices have to necessarily kick in. Do they kick in all three aspects of the competition, or are they there in one particular part, or do you have to sort of dial them up and dial them down? I mean, I'm just sort of thinking about how you sort of preserve your energy, your concentration, your focus throughout the course of a triathlon. How does that kind of break down? I'm really interested to know.
So what I tend to do now is I kind of take the race and break it down into 5 different sections. So let's take an Olympic distance triathlon, for example. So you have the swim, you have transition 1, you have the bike, you have transition 2, and then you have the run. And what I do is I just write it on my iPhone notes, and I go through and can I go through the key points in each part of the discipline where I need to be really focused and really switched on, and other parts as well that kind of bring anxiety around. So, for example, in the swim, when we're standing on the pontoon, the heartbeat music makes me feel anxious. So I try and turn that around, and I write it down, and I say, heartbeat music playing, turn this nervous energy into excitement, looking forward to getting the season underway. So things like that. And then key parts in that swim would be being really switched on around a buoy, because you need to own your space. You need to make sure that you have clear water. And if you are getting, some all over, just stay calm and just be present about keep moving forward. So it's just having it written down. I feel like it goes from my head, all these thoughts in my head. It's on paper. I've got a plan. I've got a plan A, I've got a plan B, and I've got a plan C if something goes wrong. And yeah, I just basically go through the key points in the race, and there's usually like 5 or 6 points in each kind of section of the race. And I just think having that, written down and something there that I can look at before I go out onto the pontoon, it's there. I know what I'm doing. I'm calm. I feel ready for this. And it's also a really useful tool to come back at the end of a race and be like, right, did I tick off my tick list? And if not, right, where can I improve? So it's a constant sort of character test. You're going back and you're thinking, how did I cope with this? How did I cope with that? And it has really taught me to stay calm when things get really, when there's a lot of pressure. And it's taught me to just stay calm and make good decisions.
And does this come from the school of your sports psychologist, who sort of said to you, right, these are the areas we've identified that you need to tackle or to improve, and this is the best way forward? I mean, or have you worked closely with them on working out what needs to be amped up in order to get the best out of your performance? How have you sort of figured out where the touch points are?
I think what I was finding in races was that I would finish and I couldn't remember key points of it because I just wasn't present. And now I could pick any race last season. I could tell you what happened at a particular point. I could tell you I was 6 at the first buoy. I could tell you who was around me. I know these things. I know, who was beside me. I know whose feet I was swimming on. And before, I just felt like I was in a washing machine. I just didn't know where I was. I didn't remember key parts of the race. And now I feel like, yeah, I can go back and I can tell you exactly what happened in most of these races. But I think it has been, I don't think it's necessarily all the psychology. I think that has been a huge part for me. And just generally feeling more positive in myself and my ability. But I think a lot of it also has come from the training that I'm doing as well. I'm 6-7 years into this type of training now, and I don't find it as tiring, not as taxing on my body. But yeah, I think definitely the two come hand in hand for me.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you've gone from a sport which was the 10,000 meters to something that you've sort of given yourself a triple threat problem. So you've sort of amped up in that area where you've got so much more, I would imagine, to have to think about and have to consider and have to overcome. And yet previously you sort of talk about actually the stress and managing those anxiety, nerves and everything else getting in the way. So it's kind of an interesting one that you've chosen this sport, which could make that even more compounded, if you like. But I guess the challenge of it is to overcome that, and in dealing with it the way you have, you've managed to find a way.
Yeah, I think I've always been a very anxious person. I've always worried about everything ever since I was a child. I think I get it from my mum. But I think, I think, I don't know. It's just a sign now that, I've had this expectation to go into races and to do well and to be on the podium and to win. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that. Like I don't feel it from other people. Like it's all on me. It's I want to do well. I've done all the training for these events. I want to do well. And I know what I know what I'm happy with. I know what I'd be disappointed with. So I think, even though I don't get, the anxiety like that in the race anymore, I get it before the race now. I get it the night before, the 2 days before, where I don't sleep. So that's my most recent trait. I don't get any sleep the night before a race. So
how do you manage that? How is that? How do you overcome that? Because to not get sleep before a highly competitive event, with the multidisciplines that you've got to perform in those areas to achieve success, how do you get through it?
Well, it's always good to bank the sleep when I'm at home before I go away. So I try and, I do get a good 9.5 hours every night. So I'm banking sleep there in the weeks leading into the race. And Paris test event last year, for example, I went to bed on the Monday night, woke up Tuesday morning, and I didn't race till Thursday morning. But after I woke up on the Tuesday morning, I didn't sleep again until Thursday night. Oh. So I had no sleep going into that. I know. And it's not like I didn't try everything. I tried everything. I tried chamomile tea. I tried yoga. I tried reading a book, podcasts, everything. And I think one bit of advice I've had that's really helped is that you don't need the sleep. You're rested. You're well rested. You've tapered. You've had loads of sleep last week. You're well rested. All you need to do is race. And that really got me through, to be honest. That was a text that I received in the middle of the night. Like I'm well rested. I've got energy. I'm fine. I'm running off adrenaline now, and I did, and I performed really, really well. And I've done this a couple of times now, and I know it works. So I think it's been really kind of good to trial and test that this year, because I can guarantee you, I'm not going to get any more sleep this summer at the games. So.
Does that become like a pattern of behavior effectively? Kind of, it's happened a couple of times. We all know this in our different worlds, where if you're struck by that problem at one particular moment, it can repeat on you several times depending on the circumstances, because you relate the two things. I mean, is that not absolutely terrifying, the prospect of Paris looming large and then thinking that 36 hours out you might not have slept?
I know. But I did it last year. I know it'll be fine, so it'll be okay. And I'm doing the exact same build up as I did last year, so it will be fine. And last summer really did feel, the race felt different to another race that we do in the circuit. There was a feel about it in Paris. Everyone was very nervous, and so I think we've done that, and I'm glad that we've done that now, so we know what to expect this summer. But yeah. I'll be glad when the 31st of July is over.
Yeah, if I didn't know better, I'd have thought that text that came to you in the middle of the night came from Paula Radcliffe, because we interviewed her on this pod, and she said, I often did not sleep before the next day, before a marathon. And I was like, how on earth did you function? She said, my dad used to always say to me, you've already slept loads this week, you'll be fine. And I never believed in a sleep bank thing, but now clearly it is an issue amongst athletes.
Yeah, it's just, it was weird. We recently were out in Abu Dhabi racing, meant to be racing on the first World Series of the year, and the first race of the season is always very, you don't know where anyone's at. You don't know how everyone's winter's gone, so it's always a good tester to see where we're at, and especially in Olympic year. And we all didn't realise that we were going to bed that night, and the race had been cancelled by the UAE government. So we all went to bed. I had the usual minimal sleep. Next morning up, then we get announced that the race has been cancelled, and I felt the adrenaline drain from my body. I was like, wow. And I actually felt that evening as if I had raced. I had all the kind of post-race things like, headache, feeling tired, and I hadn't even raced. All I'd done was go for a run. And it was just, it obviously, that adrenaline can get you through. So yeah.
So what are you putting in place ahead of Paris this year? Because it's your first Olympics as a triathlete. To make sure that you manage, and I know you've spoken about this sports psychology piece before, but how you manage your nerves, how you manage your stress, how you manage your build up effectively to that event. Are you having to sort of make plans? Well, you must be, about how you're going to do that in the lead up.
I actually listened to a podcast with Jessica Ennis recently, and about how she coped with the pressures of 2012. And it's exactly how I was hoping to approach Paris this year. I want to do all my prep at home in an environment that I'm familiar with. I've got everything I need here. I've just moved into my newly renovated house. I'm really happy to be at home. I've got my dog, I've got my boyfriend here, and my training partners, and everything I need here. So trying to keep everything as normal as possible and treat it as if it's another race, because it's the same girls I race week in, week out. There just happens to be a different medal at the end of it. So I'm going to try and keep things as normal as possible, because that's how I perform in my best. I like familiarity, and I think that's my approach for this summer.
That makes plenty of sense. Is this the best Team G triathlon squad ever?
I mean, so far, we could say, yeah. We've got, do you mean the team that's been picked already?
Yeah, it feels like there's this massive strength and depth thing going on with you lot. And also it feels like everyone is talking up, and I know it's dangerous, chances ahead of Paris 2024. But it just feels it feels like there's a lot being spoken about in terms of glowing references as to the squad of people that have been put together, and actually almost some dilemmas over choices that are going to have to be made nearer the day. So I mean, what does that feel like being part of that setup? It must be really exciting.
Yeah, I think, it's in a really good place, especially on the women's side at the moment as well. We have about 4 women in the top 6 in the world, and it's unfortunately someone is going to be disappointed by not making the team. But we've all got different strengths, and realistically we could have multiple medals at this Olympics. And even just looking at the kind of team relay as well, we've got a really good chance of backing up the gold that we won last time. So it's not going to be easy. We've got the French and we've got the Germans, but it's really exciting to be kind of part of that. And I think with Alex and I already on the team, it'll be good to see who kind of makes the rest of the team in the end of May. So all I can say is I'm just glad I'm picked, because it would be, I think, having missed the first race of the season and then feeling like I had to show form and get points, I think I would be quite nervous. But they've all got sights on calorie, and I'm sure they're all prepped for their trials. So I wish them the best.
Talking about sights, how distracted are you going to be by the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Elysees, like so many different amazing things to see on your particular journey through the streets of Paris? Can you take me through the course? Because I know you've already raced it. So can you take me through what that looks like, what that feels like, how you're going to, how it's going to unfold over the course of that triathlon?
So we start on the Alexandre Pont 2, I think I'm saying it correctly, bridge, and we dive off into the Seine, and we swim with the water taking us. Yeah, we have a very, very strong current going with us down to the first buoy, so it's very fast. And then you do a kind of U-turn at that buoy, and you come back upstream, and it's very, very slow. It feels it's a lot. This current is strong, and then we come out and we do a smaller lap again on the second, and then we exit. We climb up the stairs, and then we do 8 laps on a kind of circuit over the bridge, up the Champs-Elysees, and then onto the other side and past the Eiffel Tower. And then the run, I believe, is being amended at the moment. I'm not sure what the updated run course is, but last year, there's a very iconic video of Cassandre and I running up the Champs-Elysees with the Arc de Triomphe in the background, and it's just super cool. And running on the cobbles, it's just I've watched the Tour de France and seen the riders riding on that for years, and it was just amazing to be part of that and be on that course. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to going back this summer. So yeah, it's a great course, and it is difficult not to be distracted by the amazing iconic buildings as you're going round.
I'm so excited for you. It's going to be brilliant. And okay, I've got to ask you, just before we sort of dive off this and allow you to get on with your 25-hour day of training, a performance tip. For what you employ is obviously a different level of performance than most people would. But what would you suggest to people who are listening or watching this podcast about what they might want to do every day just to give themselves a little bit of a boost performance-wise? What would be the one thing that you do, or that's been the best piece of advice you've been given around performance?
I think the best advice I've probably been given is just back yourself and believe in yourself, because that's definitely something I didn't do enough of. And yeah, just give yourself more credit. You're better than you think.
I'd be absolutely dreading it if I was going to be taking on the triathlon anytime soon. My bike skills are really very below par, let alone the swimming, let alone the rest of it, frankly. But I wish you all the very best, Beth. I'm so excited for you, and I really hope you come home with that gold medal. You really deserve it. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.